Guys, Derek is asleep. He may never recover.
These Super Bowl parties are going to kill me, you guys.
Was it actually a Super Bowl party last night, though, Derek?
It's not. I don't know what it is anymore.
Something else happened in Arizona sports that might have been significant.
That might have been something I'm excited about, but I don't know. Why are these lights so bright, Jesse? My name is Kevin Durant, occasionally known as the mayor of PHNX. This guy over here, also Kevin Durant. He's the vice mayor and the Thunderstick. Kevin, how's it going?
I'm actually TJ Warren.
That's right. In this relationship, you definitely are. This podcast is brought to you by the fine folks.
Now I feel insulted by that suddenly.
You did it to yourself. You owned yourself, Jesse. This show is brought to you by the fine folks at the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Yes, Phoenix Suns fans, we are here to rejoice in the news. We didn't want to be left out. Look, we know we're baseball, we get it, but we don't care. We're over here excited because we are both very big Phoenix Suns fans. More importantly, I am a huge Kevin Durant fan, so today's news is just very, very exciting. But of course, it does not come without consequences, right? The pieces that were traded away do make us very sad, especially the two of us, huge Mikal Bridges fans. Yes. We've talked about him a bunch on this show. We love Mikal, and this absolutely breaks our heart. And I'm a little worried about the trade overall because of what we gave up. But this very much is reminiscent of some of the things that the Arizona Diamondbacks could do that we don't really want to see them do necessarily. I mean, these two franchises right now couldn't be in more opposite places.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, one is ready to win now. One needs that. And now, honestly, with the trade has a very short window, you could say, as far as a championship run is concerned, versus the Diamondbacks, who at least they know the direction they're going. They're very young. They're very talented. And even though they might not be close to that championship window, you can see how they might be better set up for the future than what the Suns recently did to kind of try to make that push for the trophy.
Yeah, I view the Diamondbacks as currently in, I guess the bubble Suns, right? Like
that's a good comparison.
That year of the Suns. And this is actually, I think, something that we talked a little bit about during the season. It kind of feels like the D-backs are in that phase at this point, right? You've got, the young pieces. You can kind of start to see things coming together. You have some veterans here, but, guys who might not necessarily stick around long term. And so, yeah, I mean, you could make a case. Maybe what the Diamondbacks need to do is they need to go get, the Chris Paul that helped the Suns reach the next level, and then maybe eventually also get the Kevin Durant that would really put them over the top. So It's hard to compare these two franchises right now, but yeah, I mean, the D-backs are, on paper, they're relatively close to, I mean, it turned around quickly for the Suns, right? It's amazing how quickly we went from the Suns being a team that nobody thought about to suddenly in that bubble Suns year, seeing them kind of take that next step. And then before you knew it, they were in the NBA Finals, right? And I don't know if it's going to happen quite that quick for the D-backs, but it could be somewhat similar in the sense that when you have a lot of young players that are highly touted, those kind of changes can happen pretty quickly. And that's kind of what you're hoping for if you're a D-backs fan.
I think the one thing here is that the Diamondbacks have, obviously they're not as close. Like you said, they've kind of entered that first phase that we talked about, right? Adding those free agents that put you over to that next level is where you really determine that you have a core that can win not just this year, but for a number of years. And then you can add to that as you see fit. Maybe that's when you spend your money. We've talked about in the past, the Diamondbacks not really spending money. We know they don't do that. But when you look at certain deals that other teams make that don't make much sense, they just cost a lot of money. You kind of wonder why they did that. And I think that that's what the Diamondbacks have been trying to avoid over the last few years. Going out and making a big free agent move that doesn't make much sense with the direction that the overall team is going, that just is going to spend a lot of money. I feel like the Chris Bryant acquisition by the Rockies is kind of that, right?
Yeah.
Like the Rockies really weren't in a position where Chris Bryant was going to be added to the team and put them over the edge in the NL West, right? So they paid a lot of money for him. Not only did it not work out because he spent most of the season injured anyway, but he also probably will have a hard time living up production-wise to the amount of money they paid him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think Chris Bryant is not as good in baseball as Kevin Durant is in basketball. He's kind of a tier below.
There's a little similarity though, because both of them were very, very good, and probably you could have considered Chris Bryant to be at the top of baseball at one point in his career, but injuries and stuff have kind of brought him back down to being a little bit more above average of a player, besides being an extraordinary player, right? Kevin Durant, when he's healthy, is still an extraordinary player. More than anything, he gets fouled a million times in a game, and that's something the Suns can really fucking use right now because, it's them against the referees a lot of times. But what would a comparable trade be for the D-backs to make like this? Because, like we said, it doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense for them to do it. But I was wondering what your thoughts were. I had my own scenario, which you kind of giggled at, where I said this would be like trading Alek Thomas, Jake McCarthy, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., and 4 first-round draft picks to the Phillies for Bryce Harper and Alec Bohm. And the reason why I went with Alec Bohm is because I figure he's still a serviceable third baseman. He's a very good third baseman.
Sure.
And the Diamondbacks need that, right? With the way that the Suns made this move, they needed a TJ Warren in return in order to fill their starting lineup at this point, right?
Yeah. So my only qualms with that is that I don't know if Alek Thomas and Jake McCarthy are quite as they're not established enough like the way that Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson are. And to be honest, there's really no players on the Diamondbacks who I think actually relate to Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson and their standing in the NBA. So this is kind of an impossible task. But I think if
That's
we
what
could,
we fucking do around here.
If we could rewind the tape a few months to when Dalton Varsho was still a member of the Arizona Diamondbacks, I think Dalton Varsho and Mikal Bridges, I think there's a pretty solid connection there. Both excellent defenders, right? That's the primary strength for both of them.
A lot of value that's kind of underrated value, right?
Yep, fan favorite, right? Everybody in the clubhouse loves them. That sort of a thing.
National reporters are calling him Mickle. And what do they call him?
I heard Mike Hall last night.
It's Mikal.
Guys, I just don't understand how you can be.
Research.
I don't know what outlet that was that I was watching, but it's really shameful. Nobody should have any trouble pronouncing Dalton Varsho though.
But I do like that comparison. Varsho is very much just like Mikal Bridges, an underrated player that was quietly one of the best on his team without a lot of people in basketball knowing about him, right?
Right. So then I think Jake McCarthy is maybe the best comp for Cam Johnson.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Like better on offense, right? That's more the strength. I think Jake McCarthy, there's maybe more questions about how well he holds up in the future than Cam Johnson, who's pretty well established. He's just pretty darn good at this point. And then Nick Ahmed is my comp. For Jay Crowder, expiring contract, right? I mean, obviously, Nick Ahmed is not the trouble in the Diamondbacks clubhouse that Jay Crowder has been for the Suns. That doesn't really compare at all.
Nick Ahmed shirt, but
he's not quite as divisive of a player as Jay Crowder. But so I have Varsho, Jake McCarthy, Nick Ahmed. I would do 4 first-round picks, like you said. You can't actually trade picks in Major League Baseball. You can trade competitive balance picks.
Yeah.
I'm not totally sure how many of those you can trade at a time. I don't believe I've ever seen a team trade 4 of them.
You can have a half a dozen. Here you go. Whatever.
We're just not going to have one for 2 decades or something. That might be what it would actually take. And then as far as what's coming back, Bryce Harper is pretty, I think that's pretty compelling that Bryce Harper, his standing in Major League Baseball, pretty similar to Kevin Durant's standing in the NBA, right? Like maybe not the very best player, but like pretty much always right up there. They both have some injury history, right? Bryce Harper is not going to play for the first few months of the season for the Phillies after having surgery after the postseason. So there's some connection there. I think Mike Trout is maybe another name that I would bring in, who I think is honestly pretty comparable to Kevin Durant, right? Mike Trout, lots of injury history, lots and lots of injury history. But you know that when Mike Trout is on the field, he's going to be one of the best, even though he's aging in much the same way that Kevin Durant is. I think Trout and Harper are only about a year or two apart, so there's not a big difference there. But yeah, so Varsho, McCarthy, Nick Ahmed, whatever draft pick compensation you can muster for Mike Trout and Gio Urshela maybe would be a good comp for TJ Warren coming back. So that's my best comp. But again, this is a trade that the Angels would never actually accept in a million years. Nor is it a trade that I guess the Diamondbacks would be interested in it, but it's probably not a trade that actually mirrors what happened last night perfectly.
Gabriel Ferrer says, would Bryce Harper make them a favorite? I don't know if trading for any one player would make anybody a favorite unless they were already in a position to be a favorite, right?
Baseball's just different like that.
Yeah, like it would have to be a team like the Mets or the Dodgers or Atlanta or somebody that traded for like Ohtani for it to really be the thing that moves the needle, and you already kind of have to be there. It's much easier in basketball to add somebody that's a superstar to a 5-man team out there and have it impact the team in so many different ways. Like especially when you talk about Devin Booker's playoff history and sometimes his inability to be the primary scorer when the team is looking for that. Kevin Durant comes in and he just alleviates that completely and changes the dynamic of this team altogether.
Yeah.
Not to mention, let's talk about how good DeAndre Ayton has been lately. Ayton has been incredible, and it's
don't buy it, Derek. Don't buy it.
Damn it, Jesse.
my belief with DeAndre Ayton, and as we said last night, we're just becoming a full-on Suns podcast now. We're just going to embrace it for a day.
Aren't the Suns on right now? Why are we even doing a show at the same time as the Suns show on a Kevin Durant day? Is that what's happening? What are we like this? That's a futile effort. I feel like we have no choice but to talk about the Suns over here. It's nothing but Suns coverage wall to wall on PHNX today. But go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm still drunk. I need a beer.
Jesse, you don't think that Ayton will benefit from the spacing that KD and Booker
I think he
bring?
will. I think he will. Yeah. I'm just my son's 2 cents for this episode of the PHNX D-backs show is that DeAndre Ayton is the type of player where you love him for 2 games, everyone dreams about what he could become, and then he sucks for 2 or 3 games, and everyone gets mad at him, and then he rebounds and he's great for 2 or 3 games, and everyone dreams about how great he could be. And it's like, no, this is who he is. Like, this is who DeAndre Ayton is.
Now I'm mad at you.
About basketball, and that's not even what we're supposed to be talking about, but here we are.
I don't like you anymore, but you do write wonderful articles, and you should check out his new piece. It's not even locked behind a paywall. What's the new piece on?
The new piece is on the Diamondbacks bullpen options. Right. I basically organized them into different tiers of how likely I think they are to make the opening day roster. So tier number 1, you've got Joe Mantiply, Scott McGough, Miguel Castro, and then it kind of goes on from there. I think those guys are pretty much guaranteed to make the roster, and then goes on from there in terms of decreasing likelihood of making the roster. So
this guy
a lot of different levels.
You think
there.
Scott McGough is going to be the closer, and I'm interested to see if he's right.
It's possible. I mentioned a few names as closing possibilities in the story, so definitely go check it out.
I spoiled it for you, but make sure to check out the story. If you want to read all of his stuff, make sure to get yourself a Die Hard membership. Of course, our Die Hard membership is the best. It's the best thing to have. It's the best place to be an Arizona sports fan. Not only do you get access to the wonderful Die Hard pieces that we have from Jesse, from Gerald, from Craig, from all of our writers, we also have a wide variety of benefits, including a piece of PHNX merch every single year from the PHNX locker, 20% off all your future purchases, as well as invites to members-only parties, members-only merch, a wide variety of things, the Discord Lounge, which is the best place to be an Arizona sports fan, and so much more. So make sure to grab yourself a Die Hard membership over at gophnx.com. And also, if you're here right now on the PHNX YouTube channel, make sure to subscribe to the channel, sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss when any of our shows go live, even when we're doing them at the same time. And sign up for audio podcast stuff. Subscribe to us over there. Leave us a review. We appreciate you doing so. Most importantly, leave us a thumbs up thumbs up on this video. It picks us up, makes us feel good about ourselves. I am drinking the #1 beer, by the way, from Four Peaks. It is a Wow Wheat, the Joy Bus, and it's helping me recover from last night. They fed me fish bowls of Long Island iced tea, which I haven't had since I was like 17 years old. So, but you can have a good quality beer from Four Peaks for this big game, wherever you get your beer at here in the Valley. There's so many sporting events. Not only do we have the big game, we have the Waste Management Open. Spring training is right around the corner. So make sure to grab yourself some Four Peaks. And also, if you haven't had a chance to try out this #1 wheat ale in Arizona, it's the Wow Wheat, then come on down to Old Town Boondocks for the Tailgate Time Machine this Saturday, February 11th. Try Four Peaks' newest innovation. It's packed full of Arizona citrus flavor, perfect for light drinking in the desert sun. Must be 21 years or older to enjoy, and enjoy responsibly. Jesse and I are very excited, obviously, about the baseball season. I know you guys all are too. So we decided that we wanted to build our best D-backs lineup that we could out of the current roster. Jesse, of course, immediately had to compromise things. He had to make it just more complicated. He comes to me to ask me, are we going versus righties? Are we going versus lefties? Is it a day
There is
game?
a difference. I will maintain.
What field is it at? Are we playing at home? Are we playing away? Is it a road trip? Is it a single series? Is it a 2-game series? Is it a 4-game series?
Okay, I did not
There's
make
just
it that
many variables he needed to know in order to comprise his best lineup. It's like fucking dealing with Tori Lavello over here. But let's go ahead and take a look at Jesse's perfect lineup, shall we?
I don't know if I would say perfect line. This is the best.
It.
This is the best I can do. And yeah, this is against a right-handed starter. So keep that in mind. So I have Corbin Carroll leading off in right field, specifically choosing right field because I think Corbin Carroll has a better arm than Jake McCarthy does. So maybe that's a change we see the D-backs make at some point. He did play mostly left field last year, so we'll see. So he's leading off in right field. Ketel Marte batting second base. Lourdes Gurriel Jr., DH, hitting third. Christian Walker batting cleanup at first base. Josh Rojas hitting fifth at third base. Gabriel Moreno hitting sixth, playing catcher. Jake McCarthy, seventh, left field. Alec Thomas, eighth, center field. And then Nick Ahmed rounding it out, batting ninth and playing shortstop. Derek, what do we think here? Did I do okay?
I think you did okay, but I'm saying that mostly because when you see my lineup, you'll understand that we basically went with the exact same players.
Okay.
I think we literally went with the same players at every single position, with the exception of I left Corbin Carroll in left field and left Jake McCarthy in right. Sure. That's the only thing. Fair. But you're right. I do think that, to be honest, Corbin Carroll is probably the center fielder of the future, and there's a good chance we might even see him move there before the end of the season. I just thought that, where they're at is where most likely we'll see them be for a little while, I think.
As long as Alec Thomas is here and playing well, I think he's the center fielder.
I think so, too.
I think that's how the D-backs view the situation. He was just so good there last year, right? I mean, he was a Gold Glove finalist for a reason. I don't think that's a change the D-backs are going to make unless they have to.
The one thing I really like is that we both have Lourdes Gurriel Jr. in as DH. Let's take a look at
should we bring up yours?
Yep. I have Gabriel Moreno with his. Obviously, we both have Corbin Carroll leading off. That's kind of a no-brainer. You actually said that you were interested in going with Moreno, possibly at one point at leadoff. I think that's the same reason why I might have him here at second in the lineup. Right, is because his bat was very good last year, consistent. Carroll, obviously, with his speed and his ability to get on base. I just see this right here as an RBI machine. You got Marte and then Walker. And then you have kind of another cleanup there with Gurriel coming after Walker, McCarthy, Rojas, Thomas, Ahmed. We basically had this. I think the last two players the same, first position the same, and everybody else kind of in there mixed up a little bit differently. We both had Josh Rojas at third base too, which I find interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if it's against that's the primary reason why I asked lefty or righty, because if it's a lefty, I'm going to play Evan Longoria. If it's a righty, I'm going to play Josh Rojas, and I think the D-backs will probably do the same the majority of the time. Gabriel Moreno, I did think about having him lead off. In fact, while I was playing around with things, I think Moreno was in the leadoff spot for most of the time. I still think I could see that happening at some point. Just watching some of his highlights from last year in Toronto and knowing the kind of player he is, like the hit tool is amazing. I mean, that's what everyone gets excited about with Gabriel Moreno. If you've got a guy who maybe doesn't have a whole lot of power, but he's a 65 or 70 on the scouting scale for his hit tool, I mean, what more are you looking for in a leadoff hitter, right? I know there's kind of this stereotype your leadoff hitter should steal bases and whatnot. We've seen the D-backs embrace that at times, not embrace that at other times. Carson Kelly hit leadoff for them last year against lefties at times. Nick Ahmed has hit leadoff against lefties as well. So I don't think Torey Lovullo necessarily cares about the speed component as much. The other guy considered in the leadoff spot, which I think Pedro might have alluded to in the comments earlier, is Jake McCarthy. I think if Jake McCarthy comes back next year and puts up similar offensive numbers, if he's hitting 280, 290, with a mid 300s on base percentage,
you're moving him up in the
with that speed, man, like he becomes pretty much the ideal leadoff hitter. The only reason I don't have him there is because, again, and if you're a diehard, hopefully you saw my full-on fleshed out story about Jake McCarthy and kind of what the underlying metrics say about his 2022 season. I just don't know if I believe it enough yet to put him that high in the lineup, but I could see that changing over the course of the year.
Yeah. A couple of interesting things in regards to the Diamondbacks 40-man roster. Right now, Dominic Fletcher is on the 40-man roster, as well as Blaze Alexander. I think that's going to be interesting in camp, and of course, that very fluid. That could change, but I also think it's interesting that when you currently look at their depth chart for starting pitching, they're going with a 7-man rotation. And I don't know what to think about that, Jesse. You think they go full 7-man?
I mean, what depth chart are you looking at?
The Diamondbacks depth chart on their website, where their starting rotation right now comprises of Madison Bumgarner, Merrill Kelly, Zach Gallen, Zach Davies, Ryan Nelson, Dre Jameson, and Tommy Henry.
So that's it then, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Torey Lovullo told the people running the website, put 7 starters there because we will be using a 7-man.
That's right. That's right.
We did.
You heard it here first.
We have heard Mike Hazen not rule out a 6-man rotation.
That's true.
After the Zach Davies signing, we asked Mike about that, and he said he wouldn't rule it out. I have a hard time seeing it because you're really going to have Zach Gallen start every 6 games. You're really going to have Merrill Kelly start every 6 games. I don't know if that serves you well, no matter how good the other guys are looking. But yeah, I don't know. And no, I did not call Jake McCarthy mid, Gabriel. That's not my intent.
I think I heard.
I'm saying I need to see more from Jake McCarthy to buy in, because it was just a few months, and if you look at the batted ball data, it doesn't necessarily scream 285 with a 350 on base or whatever it was that he wound up with last year.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But anyway, we hope you guys like the lineups. We hope to see this lineup. We need to get Torey back in here and get his thoughts on our lineups.
Yeah. Next time we have Torey on, we'll have him critique our lineups. That would be great.
He's like, nah, there's not no. And no, I'm not using that 2 days in a row. That's definitely what he would say. But
can I just say real quick, like, can we pull up either of our lineups again real quick? It doesn't really matter. I mean, they're pretty much the same players, at least. It's just a matter of like how you tease out the order. It's a pretty good lineup. Mm-hmm. Like it's a pretty decent lineup. Yeah. We
constantly act like they are this tremendously underdog team, and when you look at this now, knowing how good the young guys could potentially be, knowing how good we've seen them be, including Moreno in Toronto. This is a very exciting lineup.
Like just rolling through the guys that I have real quick, like Corbin Carroll, right? Rookie of the year favorite. Like, could Corbin Carroll have an 800, 850 OPS last year with a whole bunch of stolen bases? Yeah, like I think he could. Yeah. Ketel Marte, kind of widely expected as a bounce back candidate, right? Like he really could come back next year. If you look at his Zips projections, he's projected for like an 800, 850 OPS. Lourdes Gurriel Jr., the power wasn't there last year, right. But he still had like a 770 OPS, and his batted ball data was still really good. Christian Walker at 36 homers, right? You go down the list: Rojas, Moreno, McCarthy, Thomas, Ahmed. Like it's a pretty decent lineup, and I don't know if we've really been able to say that about the Diamondbacks. Like, I don't know, back when Paul Goldschmidt was in the middle of it, maybe. And even then, I mean, I think toward the latter years of Paul Goldschmidt being here, the D-backs didn't necessarily have a whole lot of pieces to put around him. So there's a lot that has to go right. There's a lot of guys you don't necessarily know for sure about, but it's a pretty good lineup. And I think that's something we haven't been able to say in a while.
I agree. And by the way, I think we botched this for our audio listeners. So just to recap, Jesse's lineup is Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Christian Walker, Josh Rojas, Gabriel Moreno, Jake McCarthy, and then in the final two spots, Alec Thomas and Nick Ahmed. My lineup, very similar. Corbin Carroll, Moreno in the second spot, Marte third, Christian Walker in cleanup, Gurriel DH, Jake McCarthy, right field, Josh Rojas, Thomas, and Ahmed. So very similar, just a little bit of moving around there in the middle. And I think we could very well see that based on the performance. Like you said, their performance next season is going to dictate where they move up in the lineup. The one thing that is very true for this team is they are not going to be held down by, any kind of, I guess, like what we talked about with the starting rotation. Like there's no like awarded anything to anybody on this team. Even Ketel Marte, who could you could say arguably is, besides Nick Ahmed, one of the longest tenured and honestly one of the best players on the team. Nothing's given for him because now there is a guy that can play second base. There's a couple of guys that can play second base, and if they're outperforming Ketel Marte, he could easily find himself in a DH role or even not playing nearly as often as he should be. So I like that. I like that they're coming into camp with this competition. It only strives to push them further and make this team better. And when you look at the best teams in the league, the guys that emerge are guys that had to kind of fight their way to win a spot on a team that's very, very talented. And it just kind of helps to make you that much better of a ball player. By the way, this isn't a baseball episode of this podcast. This is all basketball. I don't even know why we did the lineups thing. We should have done the starting lineups for like the Suns or something. But
yeah, so who would the D-backs point guard be?
Who would the D-backs
and who's starting at power forward with Kevin Durant in there? How we doing this?
Wow. Okay, we're doing this. That's a good question. The person I photoshopped the body onto is Davison De Los Santos, so I feel like we need to call him up for a power forward role. But if you're talking about just the current
love
lineup,
that the closest body type you could find to Kevin Durant was Davison De. I don't know about that one, Derek.
It's not. It wasn't. It was just. It's sometimes you just want it to look funny. That's all. That's all you're really going for is something that looks funny. Look at that. Look at that guy. That's terrifying.
It just
the thought of Kevin Durant being that thick with two C's is terrifying. Come on, buddy.
He doesn't really look like an NBA player anymore.
No.
At that point, I think the ideal build for a baseball.
He's DHing.
Yeah,
for
the
us,
ideal build for a baseball power hitter and the ideal build for like a 6'10" forward in the NBA. Little different, but I appreciate your photoshopping.
I appreciate your appreciation. Now back to this basketball thing that you got going on with the Diamondbacks. Are we putting Madison Bumgarner in center? Are we going
at center? You want Mad Bum? I mean, he's one of the taller guys on the team,
right?
So
maybe Joe Mantiply.
Joe Mantiply is pretty tall.
He has Joe Klein vibes from the old Phoenix Suns days. You probably are too young for that.
Let
me think. Corbin Carroll is my point guard.
Okay.
Alec Thomas, small forward.
Okay.
Right?
Alec Thomas, a little small for small forward, but I guess we're kind of adjusting to baseball standards.
They're all small, Jesse. They're all baseball players. They're not going to be big as basketball players. That's not how this works.
Alec Thomas, though, like pretty slim too. I don't know. Can we find like Lourdes Gurriel Jr.?
Well, yeah.
You want him as a starting small forward?
I feel like
maybe
shooting guard. I feel like he'd make a good shooting
guard. Maybe a good shooting guard? Yeah, okay, well, he's one of your taller. I mean, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. is 6'4". At least he's listed at 6'4".
That's shooting guard height in NBA.
Diamondbacks' tallest player is we found their center. Boy, did we find their center.
Is it Miguel Castro?
Miguel Castro
Let's fucking go.
I forgot about Miguel Castro. 6'7".
Yeah. And he throws 105 miles an hour. So
he does.
Come on, man.
Those cross court passes are going to be incredible. I don't know if he can shoot, but he's a center. He just needs to make layups. He called fine.
Yes, Gabriel. He called Jake McCarthy mid, and he called Alec Thomas small. This is a bad person that I sit next to and do this show with. But anyway, the one thing that you need to do is make sure to get your hands on the brand new Kevin Durant Slim Valley Reaper t-shirt over at PHNXLocker.com right now. It's the best way to celebrate the news and honestly, this podcast going full basketball up in here. So
we need to get you one of those, Derek, so you're not wearing this terrible Thunder jersey anymore.
I don't care about your thoughts on my Thunder jersey. I've been a Kevin Durant fan since I thought he was going to fill out at Texas, and I am still a Kevin Durant fan to this day. Look at this shirt. Look at how good this shirt is. Damn. D-Line was in his bag on this one, man. The Slim Valley Reaper shirt. Make sure to get that over at the PHNXLocker.com. And also, to celebrate not only this news, but if you are here in Phoenix from out of town, I just want to remind you that recreational marijuana is legal here, and you can enjoy our friends from OG's while you're here for the big game. Make sure to stop by your local dispensary. They have a wide variety of doses, flavors, and strains for you to choose from, and OG's is all about flavoring life, so they make some of the best tasting edibles you can find in the Valley. And it's official. Now they have the strawberries and cream happy balance CBD to THC ratio. It helps smooth that high out and make it not so bad. They also have the minis. We got minis. We got the fruits. We got summer edition. We got sleep edition. We got hats. We got everything. Come on out to OG's. We're having a good time. Make sure to find yourself a party. I've been at too many parties this weekend.
Thanks, Max.
This week, but must be 21 or over to enjoy, and enjoy responsibly wherever you find them. Find them at your local dispensary. Also, Jesse's favorite app in the world is the Underdog Fantasy app. The Underdog Fantasy app lets you do daily fantasy sports differently. It basically wipe the floor with your friends, beat your friends, draft with up to 5 of your friends, go up against them, draft the highest scoring squad, and win cold hard cash. You can draft 6 NBA players, including Kevin Durant when he's healthy and a member of the Phoenix Suns, with no positional limits, and that's it. The more points you score fantasy-wise, you win if you outscore your friends. So it's easy to get started. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com or download the app. Sign up with promo code PHNX, and Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100. And reminding you that we are riding on pitch counts this Major League Baseball season. So make sure to check the pick'ems on the Underdog app as well. You just pick higher or lower for a stat that they give you. Point total works for NBA, NFL, MLB. Pitchers, pitch counts, higher or lower pitch count. I'm telling you, man, we're going to get down on this. Win some money. The more legs you add, the more money you win over at the Underdog Fantasy app. As Jesse would say, be an overdog at the Underdog Fantasy app. Speaking of you found me some interesting oddities for the MLB schedule from our friend Jason Stark over at The Athletic.
Can I real quick? I have one more player I have to mention for our Diamondbacks basketball lineup.
No, it's too much.
Dre Jameson needs to be in there because Brent Strom told us during the season that Dre Jameson, even though he's listed at 6 feet, I think he's probably more like 5'10", 5'11", if that. Dre Jameson apparently can dunk a basketball flat-footed, like without a running start. You trying to tell me you don't want that guy playing point guard, Derek?
No, that's a good point. Maybe he's small forward. Maybe we put Dre Jameson small forward.
Forward? He really, the small and small forward. You're really putting the small and small forward there with Dre Jameson. But
you know what, though, Jesse? There's more important Dre Jameson news because you know what we're doing? We're spending a very special day with Dre Jameson. Don't miss out on a very special edition of a Valentine's Dre episode. We are going to be having Dre Jameson on this show next Tuesday. So don't miss out on that because we are definitely going to ask him about beating Corbin Carroll in a foot race. Twice it happened? I don't understand that. But anyway, the MLB schedule is weird as hell, and we love it. It's so weird that it's literally causing like teams to play other teams for the first time in like 60 years. And that, I'm not even joking about that. San Francisco opens the season in New York against the Yankees at Yankee Stadium, or in New York for the first time since 1959. Is that right?
56.
56.
Yeah. 56.
And the first time ever at Yankee Stadium, meaning that obviously they would, in 56, they opened up against the Mets. So very, very weird things, Jesse. What's going on with this MLB schedule?
I mean, there's just a lot of weird things going on. I think the big thing that maybe people don't realize with, or at least not realize fully with the scheduling changes, that if you go from 19 games against your divisional opponents to 13, like if you have 2 of those in like a 1 or 2 week span, like the D-backs do with the Dodgers to open the year, yeah, like you're not gonna see teams for a long time, like a lot longer than you're probably used to ever happening before. So the Jason Stark in this story from The Athletic points out that the Philadelphia Phillies will play 15 games against the Rangers, Yankees, White Sox, Mariners, and Astros in March and April.
All American League teams.
All American League teams, but 0 games against the Mets, the Braves, and the Nationals throughout the entire first month plus of the season.
It's wild. I mean, it really does, going back to our divisional realignment thing from yesterday, it really does beg for that because, again, the reason why the divisions were the way they were and the reason why you played 162 games and the reason why the majority of them were not only against your division but only against your league at one point was so that essentially you had this defining kind of thing of which team is the best team, right? You could have a 20 game, you could be back 20 games, and when you still have to play one of your division opponents or you have to play your division still like 40 times, you could actually theoretically make that up, right? And it made sense for the season to be as long as it did when you played your division so often. I know this doesn't change the length of the season, but it just goes to show that now that they're changing it to not be so focused on the division, that some really weird things end up happening. Like the Diamondbacks are playing the Dodgers and the Padres a ton in the first month, but then, like you said, they don't see them until July, I think, again, or something ridiculous like that.
I don't have it in front of me, but after they first play those two series against LA, I think it's maybe toward the back half of the season that the D-backs see the Dodgers again.
So you would think at least the divisions would all kind of see each other early on and then again later. But with there being 5 teams in the division, someone's going to get left out as far as the matchups go for early on. Yeah. And you next thing you know, you have the Phillies playing 15 games against the American League before they play a single division or NL opponent.
Yeah, another thing that Jason points out in here, and we have talked about it, just strength of schedule. Obviously, the D-back schedule gets easier under the new scheduling system compared to past years. Fewer games against the Dodgers and Padres pretty much equals easier schedule. It's not all that complicated. But another part of this that is interesting is that the Dodgers schedule actually gets a fair amount better. Their schedule gets more difficult as a result of this. So in 2022, the combined opponent win percentage for the Dodgers was .483. In 2023, using records from last year, that jumps up to .490. So there's a bit of a bump up in who the Dodgers are playing, right? They're getting fewer games against the Rockies and the Giants and the D-backs. I guess if factoring in last year's record, the D-backs would have been, a team you would have wanted to play, I suppose. So that's another part of this.
Yeah, Ben says, can we please have 19 games against the Rockies still? I wish, Ben. I really wish.
If only you could pick and choose who you we'll take 19 games against them. What if it was like a build your own schedule system where every team just gets a chance?
No one would play the Dodgers.
Yeah.
No one would play the Dodgers.
The Dodgers would be just trying to find someone to play against them, and they'd just have a terrible time.
It would be like Taylor Swift at the Grammys, just dancing all by themselves. You know what I mean? But anyway, can it really be true that the Cardinals will play the Cubs in London before they actually play them in St. Louis? Yes, it's
pretty
true.
Wild.
The schedule is very weird. So there's all sorts of crazy things. And honestly, I think it makes for it to be more fun. I feel like after having covered this team as long as I do, I feel like, especially in April, you kind of go through the same thing every year, right? You don't get to see some of the more exciting teams that you don't normally get to watch until, a little bit deeper into the season. So I like the way that this has been changed, and I'm very excited about the fact that now they got 52 games against your own division, and then games versus the 10 other league opponents, you have 64. Interleague games, you have 46. It's just a more balanced schedule when it comes to playing all of Major League Baseball.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's good. And Jason talks about this in this story and makes some great points that we've touched on in the past about how the way that sports works currently in this age is you've got to market your stars, right? That's what it's really all about at the end of the day. And it's no secret, baseball has not done a great job of that necessarily.
Well, yeah, because they only build it in certain markets that people see those players, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've done a good job building up Aaron Judge, right? Everyone knows who he is, but
they even changed the size of the baseballs for Aaron Judge.
Yeah, we'll do anything for we'll do anything.
I got the glasses on. I had to throw some shade. You know what I mean? If they're already on, I figured I could. Really, what this is about is getting everybody to see Shohei Ohtani. Yeah. That's what this is all about. Everybody needs to see Shohei, and everybody should. He is delightful, and everybody should love him as much as I do. But again, that is going to be why the schedule is more fun, I think. And honestly, I don't care that teams don't play their own division early or whatever. None of that bothers me. And as a matter of fact, speaking for most Diamondbacks fans, goodbye, fucking Dodgers and Padres. I'm happy to not see you again after April for a few months. Let this team actually gain some confidence and play some teams that they could beat. There's just something very defeating, I think, about playing the Dodgers and the Padres. It goes back to the mindset that Torey Lovullo is trying to change, right? And especially the one thing like Steve Gilbert talked about when we had him on is how the late game losses can impact your thought process, right?
It's a more weighty thing to work through. Yeah.
When you're up and you give up the lead late and you start losing games in that fashion, you start getting into the mindset of, I hope we don't lose. And that's even when you're up, right? Like, oh, we're up 3 runs. I hope we don't blow this one, right? And that's the mindset that Lovello is trying to change with this team. It's hard when you're going up against juggernauts in your own division, but the only way to defeat them is to change your own outlook and to start coming to the ballpark every day with the attitude of, we're going to win today, right? And then
the whole 1-0 thing,
the 1-0, win the day, win the goddamn day is what it's all about, right? So let's win the day. And of course, the best way to do that is with the DraftKings Sportsbook app. And on Super Bowl Sunday, we are only riding with one team. And that team, my friends, is Blue Gatorade. Blue Gatorade for the Gatorade choice of the Gatorade that will be dumped on the head coach of the winning football team. Jesse, it's insane. It's currently at plus 400. That's nonsense. Blue Gatorade should be the favorite.
It's not the favorite?
It's not the favorite.
What's the favorite?
Lemon lime is the favorite right now at like plus 125, followed up by fucking orange.
Yeah, personally, I think the lemon lime one tastes the best. So
what are you talking about? Of course you do. You like vanilla ice cream and unsalted pretzels. I'm not surprised at all that you think fucking lime is the best flavor. Here's the thing. What was it? I think our man Damon gave me this fact, but it was since 2015, I believe, that the Blue Gatorade has been poured 4 times and is the most used over the last 8 years. Is that right, Damon?
Yeah, you better go grab that.
Yeah, so I'm looking at orange has been 5 times as the most ever. But since, I believe, since 2015, blue has been 4 times, which is 50% of the time.
4 times since 2015. We ride on Blue Gatorade on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Get on the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Put your money on there. It's plus 400. A $20 bet, I believe, is going to win you $80 on the color of Gatorade. What is happening? Why aren't we? We should all bet on that. Let's get down on that on DraftKings Sportsbook app. If you haven't done so already, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use our code of PHNX. New customers can bet $5 on Super Bowl 57 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Only at the DraftKings Sportsbook app with code PHNX. So that way you can bet on the game, get your bonus bets back, and then use your bonus bets to ride with Blue Gatorade. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. And of course, before we go, we got to let you know that once baseball season comes around, the time to buy your tickets or the place to buy your tickets, the time to buy your tickets is last minute. The place to buy your tickets is on the Game Time app. It is Jesse's app of choice. It is aesthetically pleasing. It's beautiful, and it helps you save up to 60% on tickets when you buy them last minute. So procrastinate. I have friends talking right now about going to a show in a few weeks. They don't know what they're going to be. They don't know if their jobs are going to allow for it. They don't know if they're going to have time. They might
not even have jobs.
They might even have jobs by then. A middle of the week show too? What are we, 20? We don't do these things anymore. Look at me. I am dying. I am not going to make it through this week, folks, alive. I'm telling you that right now. I have 3 more Super Bowl parties before Sunday, and I'm already bleeding out of one of my eyes. But here's the thing. You could have fun, unlike me, using the Game Time app by getting your tickets last minute. Save up to 60% on tickets when you buy them last minute. The best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in the description. So make sure to do that. And remember that. Bookmark it for baseball season when that comes around. But we appreciate you guys being here. We are so thankful to have some of you watching us when there's Phoenix Suns podcasts and news going on right now. We understand.
People would rather hear us talk about the baseball analogies of the Kevin Durant trade than the actual Kevin Durant trade, right?
Yeah. You guys are the best. So we thank you guys so much for being here. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Cap_caveman with a K. I promise I will get a new Kevin Durant jersey, Tyler. This guy over here, he's at Jesse N. Friedman. Our show is at PHNX D-backs, but of course, all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You know what we're doing. We're riding for the NBA championship from this point on. It's championship season or bust around here. But we thank you guys for being here on behalf of Damon, Jesse, and myself. We always appreciate you attending today's class. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when it's basketball.